What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking out this episode. Today, I've got my friend Trish Evangelista on the podcast. She's the owner of CrossFit Babylon, and we talk about a whole bunch of stuff. One of the things we talk about is the journey of her taking over her gym before COVID, and then being pregnant, losing her job, and keeping this gym afloat during that, and intertwining with that, navigating making modifications for athletes, whether they're pregnant, injured, and what are some things that we can learn about specifically women as for me as a man, what are some things that I could learn, as a husband, as a brother, as a coach, and how do we navigate? Because there are differences between men and women and how we, view the world, how we move, how our bodies work, and the mindset that goes into all that. So this is a really fun one to check out. We talk about a whole myriad of things. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, let me know. Drop me a comment, send me a DM, email me, and let me know how you dig the episode. Thanks. What's up, Trish? Thanks for hopping on my podcast with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this because I know you're really busy, and like me, you have more than one thing going on.
Yeah,
So
I
I
literally
appreciate
have like an onboarding walking in at once. So
it. Very cool. Yeah, I had 3 new people in my class yesterday. I was supposed to have 2 that I knew about, and I had like one. We were going to talk. We do like a free trial, and so it's like we were going to talk to one before class. I was going to talk to one after class, and then like a third person came in, and we had been talking, but we didn't like communicate that he was going to come. We didn't schedule this. He just like showed up. It's like, all right, I guess we're doing this. I guess we're,
yeah,
I guess we're making this work. And
trying to have those one-on-one connections while running a group class on top of everything else with these individuals is really difficult. Like, because you have to sell them
yes.
after, but also keep in mind your current members and everybody else in the room with you.
Yes. Yes. And so we ended up doing like a little like debrief afterwards. I was like, "Hey, you, right after class, we're gonna go over there. We're gonna debrief."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, cool." And so then we did that together. And so on that note, actually before we go too deep down that rabbit hole, will you tell people who don't know who you are, who you are, what your gym is, where you're at?
My name is Trish Evangelista. I am the owner of Babylon CrossFit. I have now owned my affiliate for this is my 4th year of ownership that I'm in now. I am in Babylon out on Long Island, New York, or in Long Island, New York, however you prefer to reference that. But yeah, I've been a part of CrossFit like in this realm for about like 10, 11 years now as a coach, as an athlete, and was coaching a few years prior before I was able to buy my own affiliate. And now I'm doing the damn thing every day and going all different directions. But yeah, that's who I am.
So thanks for that. We've first connected in our in affiliate university in our an affiliate mentorship group. Um, and when I joined that group, I had just taken over my affiliate, and were you like 2 years into yours?
Yeah, probably. Because I found them in 2021. So yeah, 2 years or a year and a half. Let's call it a year and a half with COVID thrown in.
Yeah, for sure. And so what I wanted to touch on, and we mentioned this a little bit before we hit record, like just from the first time that we interacted to like now, your whole aura has changed in a very positive way. Um,
I don't know if it's
and what did you say?
I don't know that it's always positive.
Yeah, well, I mean, mine's not always positive either. But it's very now, like just like seeing your face when you talk, when you put anything out there, like there's a brightness um to to you about like the way you look, the way you're talking, and it's very different than like when we had met first, when we were both in just like this state of just like frantic distress. And so I want to touch on that a little bit because a lot of people I get a lot of like DMs from people who are like, "Hey, I want to take this like big step. Maybe it's like I want to move. I want to take over my gym. I want to go find a new gym. I want to start coaching, whatever it is." And uh, a lot of times, that first step, people think like, "Oh, that's it. Once I do that, then it's like good to go, and we're on. We're off to the races." And I've shared that that wasn't my experience at all, and that oftentimes that big step is the first hard thing in a long line of hard things to actually get to do what you want to do. Um, could you speak into that with with your experience as an affiliate owner and what that looked like?
Yeah, one, I guess thank you for acknowledging my growth a little bit. I hope it's a thank you and not anything else. But I think for me, it's a matter of continuing, and it's not something that I'm fully there yet, but it's continuing to find my confidence in everything that I'm doing. I think finding not just affiliate you, but finding the group of people, like including yourself and a lot of men owners that I was able to be more vulnerable to, helped me a lot as a female, because it was no longer I had to worry about like if I said something the wrong way that you guys were going to judge me because you guys were giving me your point of view and helping me work through those issues. And I know that's like very specific to like a female owner as a female coach, but it gave me a space to be more vulnerable and give me the confidence to like know that I'm doing everything the right way and that it's not me. It might be the people that I'm working around or with. So I think that's really how I kind of like for me, finding this larger step or these smaller steps that led me to my larger step was surrounding myself with the right people. And I say that almost on every show I'm on, but it's truly like, even now, like I feel like I'm in this little part of my life that I'm not sure what my next step in my personal growth and my business growth goes. And I'm just like, do I have the right people a part of my journey right now to help me get where I need to go next? Or maybe I need to bring somebody else in to help my mindset or something else to bring me to keep growing, essentially. So it's something that I haven't stopped working on. So your point, it's not one major thing for me. It's been all these little things, but mostly it's been the people that I think has really pulled at my individual growth.
That's really cool that you mentioned that because this past year, I've been talking to my wife about that. That before I owned a gym, when I wanted to be uh, improve my coaching, I got plugged in with Ackerman's coaches development group, and I got plugged in with other coaches that were like leveling up, and it was everybody was a different level. Some people were higher, some people were below me, whatever. But surrounded myself with people who were on that journey. And then when I took over my gym, it was the same thing. Like, okay, but now we need to surround myself with affiliate owners, and I feel myself transcending into that next level that I'm beginning to uncover what that even looks like discovering what that looks like, and find and looking at the people that I'm surrounding myself with, and I've been asking myself the same thing, like, "Hey, what where am I going and where are the people at that are trying to get to where I want to go, or that where they're at, and is the am I surrounding myself with people that are going to help me get there?"
Yeah. And I don't know that I have the answer who those people are either, right? It's just like continuing the conversation. Sorry, one of my coaches just started the car. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
No, no, you're good.
Um, but yeah, I don't know if I know who those people are yet, but just trying to, weigh out those options constantly and not be afraid to ask different people different questions.
Yeah, and whatever and when I say that, I don't want it to sound like I'm cutting off people that aren't part of that. Like I'm just like, "Oh, this group is gone. Now I go to the next group." It's adding to my it's an addition. And so whatever that is, and I tell that to new members at the gym, like, "Why do we need to join this group class?" Because I tell them it's like I could just send you resources and you could just go do CrossFit on your own. And as much as I can sell you on the coaching, um, that's not the only factor. And I would argue a bigger factor is surrounding yourself with people who are doing that very thing, because those are the people that you're going to connect with, that are going to help you grow, that are going to challenge you, that are going to call you on your BS when you're starting to slack off. And that's why we see CrossFit gyms that have shitty coaches but a thriving community.
Yeah.
And so no matter what you're doing, like whether it's CrossFit, whether it's a gym, for me, I've been diving into like mindset coaching, and so I've been surrounding myself with people that are in that space to gauge, what it is that they're doing. How do I learn from them and grow that way? Um, and on that note, you started doing. I don't know how recent it is, but you started working with moms.
Yeah. Well, before you move away from that one thing, I think it's like that's why you and I are so successful is because we are continuing
Mhm.
to challenge ourselves with new people, right? Like we
Yeah,
know that like okay, we're at this point that it's like okay, not that we've gotten enough from one area, but it's like okay, I need more guidance here, or for me to continue to grow, I need a little bit more help here. So I think it's to your point, like adding more value, not dismissing the people that we've associated ourselves with, but just trying to find other resources to help us grow too is like the way I look at
yeah, and I agree, and
it.
I found myself like as I level up too, because it's like um I guess as I find myself leveling up and like getting plugged into a new group, that also gives me tools to be a leader in I don't want to say previous group, but the other groups that I've been a part of, and now I can take these tools, bring it to that group, and now that group benefits. And like going back to my mindset as an example is like my gym. Like I'm not mindset coaching every single athlete at my gym. I am taking those tools and implementing them to my coaching staff and introducing them to some tools,
Yeah.
exposing my members to those, and it's elevating that group uh, by using those tools that I had learned from like the new group.
And we don't even realize we're doing it, right? Until after it's done. Like that's the best part about it. You're like, oh, look at that. Like I just took what I learned from there and incorporated it into something that you never would think that it would make sense into a CrossFit class, but you find a way to like incorporate it. And that's like
Yeah.
what led me to the mom thing, to be completely honest, was just not having my own clarity on my own pregnancy and postpartum journey when I was pregnant. So I was pregnant in 2020 during COVID in New York. So my affiliate was shut down. I literally bought my affiliate in September 2019, got pregnant like October, November of 2019, found out I was pregnant December 2019, and then March 2020, the unthinkable happens in New York and the whole world shuts down. And then we're closed down for 5 or 6 months. So
How did you get through that?
mentally not sure. um, so what I did with COVID was we had like a whole plan in place. We never thought it was going to be as long as it was, right? When it first happened, it was like we're going to flatten the curve and stay home for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks turned into 1 month, and then 1 month turned into 2 months, and then 2 months literally turned into 3 months. And it just at that point, I think at the 1 month mark was like you have two options. You need to come up with a business plan that's going to save everything you have built, because regardless how long can you last, like you have to lay this out. We don't know the end site here, to close the gym and sell all the equipment, which was really a big option for my husband and I at that time because we were expecting a baby 3 months later. Equipment, if everyone recalls, like Rogue was out of stock on everything, Titan was out of stock on everything.
People were
So
selling rowers that now they're back to normal on like used for like $700-800. I saw people selling them for like $2,000-$2,500.
yeah, it was like a thing.
Brand new, they're 1,000.
That's what I said. And I remember saying that to my husband. I'm like, we bought the affiliate for this much. I can literally triple our money back by just selling everything right now. And I'm like, maybe we should do that. Like, we don't know when this is ending. And it was like a mind game, right? Because then I was like, you just purchased your dream, everything you wanted for the last 8 years. You finally have that opportunity, and it was just completely stripped of you. So, and I'm pregnant. So when you're pregnant, if you guys have not dealt with a pregnant wife yet or a girlfriend or anything, like we are, it's difficult for most. Like it's a hormonal hot mess. You were very irrational and you cry a lot. So I was crying a lot. I was very irrational. But we came up with a plan. I had a friend who was a previous affiliate owner. We sat down. We're like, okay, this is my bills. Like this is what my rent is. This is my utilities. This is what I need to pay in order to keep my business open. We took the amount of members that we had there and was like, listen, if each of you pay $60, that will keep my doors open. I don't have to worry about anything. If you want more, like if you want to continue like working out at home, but with that $60, we'll rent a piece of equipment to you. I'll provide programming. Okay. And even better, if you'd like to get a bike or a rower, since they're not available for sale because they're $8,000, you can pay your full membership rate, which at that time was $135. You could support the gym that way. So I took that when I did those numbers, we also took into consideration that we were in New York. People were losing their jobs. We were very hit hard in our state, very hard. I personally I had a full-time job as well. I was let go during COVID. So somebody who was personally experienced it as a family as well. So we laid that number out, assuming that like 20% couldn't afford it. So that's how I based those numbers. And thankfully that math worked really well. And I was able to pay my bills through COVID. In my old location, I actually had an outdoor space. So when they did give us like hey, you can do outdoor classes in New York, my husband and I went and like reinvented the outdoor space and made it functional and got people back into the gym right away. So I was one of the first CrossFit gyms to reopen, which really helped my case. But like in that process, again, I'm pregnant. So this is what made me like really want to do the certification. One, pre-pregnancy, pre-COVID in my pregnancy, I didn't know what to do in the gym. You have all of the past athletes, meaning your OG CrossFit athletes that you look up to. One of them is like my good friend Gina, who's in my affiliate. She's like, oh, I did Murph when I was pregnant. Like, you'll be fine. You can do everything. I had other people, other friends that have gone through pregnancy at other CrossFits, and they did do everything. Everybody did everything. But for me, when I was doing certain things, I didn't feel good doing it. And I was like, I know I can do this, but like, should I be doing it? Why should I be doing it? Like, does it make sense? Am I doing any harm to my body? Like, it's the kind of the same thing in CrossFit, right? We want functional movement with no pain. That should transfer over into any other client as well, no matter what their limitations are or whatever they're going through in their life at that moment. And like, it just didn't make sense to me. So I was like, I need to learn more about what's happening because I now own an affiliate. I'm a mom now. I'm going to be dealing with all of my friends getting pregnant, all of my best friends who are in my CrossFit affiliate getting pregnant. Like I was one of the first in my group. And I was just like, not just assuming modifications isn't enough for me. So I found Brianna Battle's pregnancy like program that I purchased for myself and my affiliate. So in that moment, when my affiliate was still open, I was doing my own programming through Brianna. So I wasn't following along with the class workouts, which wasn't
This
fun.
is that like spring of 2020.
So yeah, that would be from actually January 2019 to March 16, 2020. When I was in the affiliate, I was doing Brianna's programming in my
Okay.
affiliate, not following along with my classes. Like I would go along with my classes, but I was like excluded. Like I was on the side doing my own stuff and not doing it with the class, which isn't fun,
Okay.
right? We go to CrossFit classes to be included and be inclusive. And I can dive into this a little bit later with one of my coaches now who's pregnant and is really struggling with this. But then the world shut down. So for me, doing dumbbell workouts worked in my pregnancy because I was like, I wasn't ruining my bar path. I wasn't ruining my muscle memory. I was forced to do dumbbells because the world was shut down and we were all working outside in our backyard. So through all of that, I just wanted to learn more and more. I started asking like my OBGYN some questions about fitness and heart rates and things like that. They really didn't have any answers. I actually, before the world shut down in 2019, I was at Ben Bergeron's gym, CrossFit New England, for Ben's immersion program. And the one conversation I remember was with a few of Ben's athletes. This girl, Allie, specifically, who also has a mom program called the Mom Session. And she was a games athlete. And Allie was someone I looked up to because she had a daughter beforehand and then started sharing everything on social. And she was someone who, Allie was like somebody who was like with DT, Denise Thomas, with Austin Maliello, like in that crew. So like you knew whatever she knew was like the OG CrossFit stuff. And like I was like, she's the person I want to look up to and help me through like my guidance. And then I found out she was doing the pregnancy and postpartum stuff with Brianna through the course. And that's like kind of what made me do the course after going through the programming and things like that. I know I'm going all over and rambling right now.
No, I'm with you. So this is all at the same time. I'm pregnant. I'm going through this program. My gym shut down.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah,
at the same time.
all at the same time. And then in my light, like, then it's just like, again, like the biggest thing with the pregnancy was like, okay, if my gym reopens and I have a business, then I'm like, I'm going to have to help other people through this. And if I can't figure it out, somebody who's been doing CrossFit as a coach, an athlete, was a soccer player, like has been surrounded through this her whole entire life, who's had a sister who's had 5 kids, but I can't figure this out, then who's going to figure it out? And there's resources out there, right? But it's a generalized chart on the CrossFit Journal. There's minimal resources and there's inconsistent resources, meaning you hear things all over the internet and you still do to this day. I mean, Tia's pregnant. I'm sure you guys, you might have questions on that, but it's like seeing Tia go through her pregnancy, we see Tia, but we don't see much of who is it? Is it not Horvath? Who's the other one that's pregnant right now that had the miscarriage?
Oh,
Um,
that's super sad. I don't know.
um,
I don't know who it
well,
is.
she shared her story in CrossFit recently. Kara Saunders.
That's super sad.
Kara
Oh,
Saunders is
okay,
pregnant
okay.
right now. And the thing that's difficult there, and I'm bringing this up now, is because like in the inconsistency as pregnancy, is we see Tia's pregnancy highlighted and everything's phenomenal and she's doing it, and then Kara's story is like down here, and Kara got pregnant, had a miscarriage, and now is
Mm.
pregnant again and is dealing with all these things. And she opened up, and I encourage everybody to go find that through I think it was through either the professional coach or whatever, and listen to her story, because it's like her story is more important than Tia's. And those are the people that her story is what you need to worry that your athletes might be going through and not sharing, because they think it's okay. They don't feel comfortable always sharing that story because it's not common to talk about it. And a lot more people deal with it.
How does that relate to what you had said in the beginning about the challenges of being a female affiliate owner? Like I guess being a woman in this space. How does that relate to those challenges?
when you say challenge, do you mean like, I would think it's more of a challenge for you. I don't know if I'm understanding the question. I'm thinking like,
I'm trying to be more empathetic on the things that women, coaches and athletes deal with that I don't understand.
well, ironically, like we had a menopause seminar last night, and one
Okay.
of my members actually like used an example that she flipped out on one of my male coaches the other day, and was just like, she was having a hot flash. She's like, I'm having a hot flash, and she just like like completely snapped on the guy, and he was just like, and my coach handled it so well. He was like, I'm so sorry you're going through that. Like, I can't
Yeah.
imagine how you feel. I don't think there's an empathy. I think empathy is important, right? I think the way you can be empathetic to your female clients as a male owner is learning and educating yourself. There's a new guy that signed up actually from you, Rob Camp. He's a perfect
Oh,
example.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
He's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Robert.
Like, I don't even know him, and I want to be his best friend because he's a male affiliate
Robert's
owner.
cool.
Yeah, like, spoke to him one time after speaking to you, and Rob was like, I want to learn all this, and this is why. And I was like, you need to sign up for the course. Like, you're phenomenal, because it's one, like, well done by him for taking that. Like, and Christian, you would love the course as well. Like, and I know this is probably like on your list of one things to get into because I know how you are. But like, it's just the things that you learn isn't just particular to pregnancy and postpartum, and that's the important part about this course and people to take away from this call. What I learned in that course with Brianna Battles not only impacts my pregnant and postpartum clients, it impacts my female clients and my male clients. It impacts my female clients of the age of 12. It impacts the female clients of the age of 80, because the female body, and again, we'll talk about the female body and then the male body, but like, what the pelvic floor issues can start as young as like 8 years old if they have some type of trauma, if they fall off a horse, if they get into a terrible car accident, if they fall down a flight of stairs. um, those are all things that would affect their trauma to their pelvis, which could impact their growth with their body, could impact their future potential of having babies or having sex without pain and things like that. And it sounds so wild to
And
think.
more relatable that CrossFitters understand, like, that relates to, peeing during double unders.
Exactly, exactly. Or
That,
like,
like, people are just like, "Yep, that's just what ladies do," and it's like, well, like, that's a and so I guess what I was really getting at with what you're touching on is, so I have, 5 sisters, and I didn't realize until I was an adult how little men know about women. And I know there's still plenty that I don't know about women, but there's a lot of basic things that men don't understand, you know, about menstrual cycles and about, the hormone fluctuations and how that affects, specifically in the gym, how it affects your fitness, how you're feeling that day, what you're capable of that day. And that's just on the regular. That's not including menopause, pregnancy, and I agree with you that whether you're a coach or a husband or a dad, it is to your advantage to be able to be of service to the women that you love, that you understand, uh, the things that they're going through, so that you can know how to be helpful opposed to being frustrated because their experience is different than yours.
Totally. And again, like to your point, it's carried over into our own personal relationships, right? Like just me teaching my husband about things like where my body's shifting after pregnancy, like it's things that I'm almost embarrassed to say to him, but if I don't say it to him, like he's not going to understand it, and then it becomes like an emotional thing, and now we're fighting for no reason. So, like
Yeah,
understanding.
and I've been like I can even my own relationship, like knowing where my wife is in her cycle, like talk about it every month, and it's like she's like, "Hey, this is where I'm at. I'm ovulating. I'm going to start or whatever it is." But that allows me to be a good partner in the
Yeah,
sense of like, if I know that she's in a tough part of her cycle, like I'm just going to give her more grace. Like
yeah,
I know that she's probably going to be a little more short-tempered or um she might be crabby because she's uncomfortable. And then when I'm coaching her in the gym, it can be like, okay, I may not, because I have in my mind what she's capable of. And so, but if you're in a particular part of your cycle, that may fluctuate up or down. And so
you
just being malleable to
you
that.
definitely read this book because of Ackerman, but you read the love language book, right?
I have not read it, but I know what the love languages are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
need to read it, but
I wanna write a love language book for pregnant and postpartum, and I wanna write a love language book for women on cycles. Like, so
interesting.
that way, or like a blog post, like it's now, I say it to my husband all the time, I was like, there's a part of me that just wants to reach out to the author of these books and be like, I'll collab with you on a book, let's do it. Because like your wife's love language is gonna adjust based on her cycle. As crazy as it is, you have to approach us differently. And we can't control like we literally,
Yeah. Well,
and
can you
just
share for
resonate with menopause people, like I'm terrified
yeah.
of my future. Terrified.
Could you give a quick because I think that this is the best marriage advice that like I give people is like figure out your partner's love language. Can you do you know all five of them? Can you recite them?
I don't know all five of them. I have the book like on my bookshelf if you want me to
Oh,
go.
that's okay. Well, that's okay. We'll touch on it because I think this is really important. And like a lot of what I talk about is mindset, and this is huge towards being having a better mindset and being a more effective communicator.
And they
I'll see if
have
I
it
can get
for
all five.
toddlers too. If you're a parent and you're looking to navigate a toddler, like there's the five love languages for a toddler. I sent that to Ackerman too for Madison, like because that helped me a lot with
Absolutely.
Jaden's tantrums.
So the five love languages are ways that we communicate and receive love, and each person has one or two preferences, and that can shift a little bit. But for the most part, we prefer to receive love a particular way and prefer to show love a particular way, and those are physical touch,
Gifts,
words of affirmation, acts of service,
service.
time, quality time, and gift giving. And when you can figure out what your love language is, you can communicate to your partner, this is how I receive love. Like for me, mine is physical touch. And physical touch, a lot of times guys will be like, mine's physical touch. And it's no, you just like to have sex. That's not the same thing. Like physical touch um is like touching your hand, giving a hug. And so for me, like I realized that it didn't mean the same thing for everybody else because physical touch means a lot to me. So, what some examples is like a handshake means a lot to me. And so, when somebody comes in with like a wimpy handshake, I'm like, what? Like, it communicates something to me. Or somebody comes in with a firm handshake that communicates something to me. Somebody who like is not receptive, if they're not as attuned to that, they're just gonna like blow that off. And another example for me is like hugs. Like if I give somebody a hug, I purposefully went over, I gave you a hug. It's compassion, it's empathy, it's love, and I did it in a very meaningful way. Other people just like flippantly give hugs there, here, and there, and when they like want to come and give me a hug, and I know that that's where they're coming from, it just like feels stale. Um, but that's the same thing like with all the love languages.
It is.
Some people when they receive a gift, it's like the world is has opened up and everything's great. And other people they receive a gift and they're just like meh. And we all have our preference with those. So knowing what your partner's is, like
And
my wife's is X.
it carries over well to coaching. That was why I read it, was because I was trying to understand why people
Yes.
weren't receiving certain, or like again, I'm not, we all know this. If you don't know me, I'm a very aggressive person. Go on the Facebook mayhem group right now and I'm fighting with like 10 men. Um, like for me, I have to sometimes zero in my aggressiveness to meet people where they're at. And that's where I needed to read the book as a coach to kind of like understand like, why isn't this working for this person, and getting,
Yeah, like I had a member come in. She brought in some like really tough news, um, and I just asked her. I was like, "Do you need a hug?" And she was like, "Yeah." And
yeah,
that's all she needed right there. You know,
yeah,
and other people, I know that they need a handwritten card, and like that means a lot to them. Other people, I might give them a little gift card, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that means a lot." Other people, they need quality time, so I'm like, "Hey, meet me after class. We're gonna chat."
yeah,
You know, or other people, it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna clean up your stuff for you. Like, you're good."
yeah.
And just doing those little things and knowing, you don't have to know exactly what all their love languages are, but when you're doing that and you're like serving your members in all these different ways, you're inevitably going to check their box on
And they're not going to forget
on
it. Like it's that moment that they're not
yeah.
going to forget, especially as the owners going above and beyond and doing that. Like, damn, like you, I don't even get that from a coach. Like you doing it specifically too means a lot more too.
Yeah, definitely. And so we do that intentionally, like with our business, is making sure that like we are hitting all of that. So like we send out handwritten birthday cards. So there's our words of affirmation. We give out gifts once a month for Committed Club. We give out gifts here and there, and it's like that's the gift giving. We make sure we spend quality time with our members, and so it's like we're making sure that we check all these boxes so people
I
feel
didn't even
loved.
realize I'm doing that too. Now that you say it, like in a
Yeah,
bigger picture, look at that. We are striking all the
yeah,
boxes. That's actually
yeah.
a really good point. I never even thought of that.
And you'll know who it hits for because, like, some people will get a card and you won't hear anything, and then other people get a card, they're like, "Thank you so much for the birthday card." Like, I was like, "You're welcome." Like, I send them out every month. Like, I'm glad, but it's like it was a game changer for them.
Yeah,
Or, you know, or other people, it's
or
like,
like even the birthday email, like we do. I don't do handwritten cards for birthdays because we do like I do PR handwritten notes. So like if someone hits their first pull up or
"Oh,
something,
that's
we'll write them
great."
a postcard. Yeah. So I do the automatic generated birthday emails just because that's something I can't stress out myself about. But even those emails, like they are auto generated and they still get the thank you, like you made my whole morning, and I love that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
it is cool.
yeah,
So,
like
so anyway, that all goes back to like being. That's what I was hoping to get out of this is hearing more about what it is that you're doing with like moms and women because it is my wife. I know she stole this from somebody else, but we'll say like women aren't just small men. The your guys' bodies are different, your minds are different, and knowing that is key to being able to coach them effectively.
yeah,
And so what you're doing is really impactful and doesn't just apply to pregnant women. It applies to anybody that communicates with women. It applies to.
yeah. And I think it's important also to know is like that we women don't know what's happening either. Like that's the main reason I went and took this course and I'm doing what I'm doing now and speaking on your podcast about things like this is because I would assume that older women know about pelvic floor and why they're peeing their pants and why when they fart they might poop their pants a little bit. Like I would assume those things are like talked about and what I'm learning now and I'm learning this through my customers and my coaches and everything that they're the ones empowering me to like get out and speak more about it because like it's not normal what I'm talking about. And not that it's not normal to be spoken about. And people don't have the help or the resources and the more and more I learn about it, like, do you know that pelvic floor therapy is like is a part of the postpartum journey in Europe, but in America it's not. So
No,
like we go,
I do know that I'm one of the like few people who know that pelvic floor therapy exists.
yeah, like
Like people don't even
just
know that's a
even
thing.
know you or even just know what a pelvic floor is, right? Like when I went on Savon's podcast, like he didn't even know what the pelvic floor was, and his wife has had a baby. He was the CMO of CrossFit at one point. Like that's that says something, right? Like, and it's not Savon's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just like where's the disconnect in America that we're not talking about this? Like this should be something spoken about in health class when we're in high school or even elementary school early on because like I said there are kids out there, young cheerleaders, young gymnasts that are peeing their pants right now while they're tumbling and like they'll go home and not say anything to their mom because their mom's not talking about them because mom doesn't know to talk about it or ask questions. So I'm losing my train of thought here, but I think the thing is like once I learned how much people didn't know, I wanted to just keep having conversations about it. And then I realized like I don't need another business because I have my gym. But I do need to get my knowledge out and I do need to help other coaches. For me, I see more value in having conversations with people like yourself and other CrossFit coaches and other affiliate owners because it's important that we understand that what we need to learn about women might not be coming through the CrossFit Journal or in the CrossFit courses. It might be coming through a specialty course that's not even offered yet. Or you might take a different specialty course. Like, again, I've taken 2 courses at this point. I've taken one through Ice Psycho and one through Brianna Battles. They're both different directions, meaning Ice Psycho is a course written by pelvic floor physical therapists. Brianna Battles is a certified fitness coach. Okay. So you have doctors writing one, and you have a coach who's dealing with movement writing another. In my head, I would love for both of these worlds to collide because I think it would be great for CrossFit as a sport. But like, how do I say this
We
without getting?
find that with like I find that with like all, I shouldn't say all, but most doctors, especially like physical therapists, like they're really great at getting somebody back to what I call ground zero. And my job is to build the foundation on top of ground zero.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything wrong, but at the same time, like when I was in that course with all those physical therapists, we are more valuable after ground zero than they are.
That's what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and so when and it's not just pregnancy, but it's like when you're injured and you got to go through physical therapy, it's like they are they're the ones that need to get you back to, like, I would say normal function, like what we would consider like everyday function, like for you to be able to get in and out of your car, like be able to like do life is where they bring you back up to speed. My job is to help bring you back up to thriving.
That's it. And that's the same thing with pregnant and postpartum athletes, right? Except the coaches in our space don't know the things to necessarily look for through the movement pattern. So common one you already mentioned, the double unders, right? There are easy things as coaches that you can implement to help. So like do you have an athlete example you want to give me of a pelvic floor symptom in your gym without naming anybody that you want to talk about?
Well, okay, my wife is a good example. She
I
was
said
somebody
not to
that
name
just,
them, but obviously Kayla's not going to care.
yeah, Kayla doesn't care. Kayla's very open. She'll talk to you about it. But she was somebody that would like just like always just like pee when she did double unders, and it was just like a normal thing. And it's like I need to bring an extra pair of shorts. Um,
Does she still?
and
Or no, she
no,
solved it. No, okay. And how
no,
did
yeah.
she
I mean,
solve
there's
it?
still like, and like there's still like moments where it's just like something will happen, then it's like, oh well, something happened. But for the vast majority of the time, no.
So like this is the mind-boggling part. Like we could easily there could be the easiest it's not the same for everybody, right? Every athlete's different, but
Right.
like like an easy fix could be just a cue of getting them to jump differently. Getting them to jump taller and not donkey kick their way up or not hold tension in their shoulders when they're jumping because when they're holding here, they're not breathing and now they're holding their breath and putting all this pressure down onto their pelvic floor. That's how easy it is to help the athletes in your gym peeing their pants if you know what you're talking about. Again,
Yeah, because from what I've learned is like the pelvic floor, if there's an issue, it's often either loose or it's tight. And so either we need to learn to build tension or we need to learn to relax that tension. And sometimes that requires therapy. Or like you said, sometimes that just requires breathing better.
yeah, and where the pelvic floor therapy comes in, and like why I work with so many pelvic floor therapists is because they do an internal exam, which isn't like going to the OBGYN for my females that are listening. It's literally you go and it's one finger that they put in you, and they're working with you on your breath work, meaning like they're connecting you because you might think you're connecting to your pelvic floor and doing Kegels the right way or breathing the right way, and you're doing the exact opposite. I personally had a C-section and I didn't go see a pelvic floor therapist until after. And when I saw the pelvic floor therapist after, she's like, I can't say this because I didn't see you and examine you when you were pregnant, but by the way you're breathing now, if this is how you tried to deliver, your C-section probably could have been prevented. So to hear
Mm.
that as an athlete, someone whose abs were cut open, and I also thought I would never get my abs back, I was absolutely devastated. And that's also why I want to advocate so hard for women to understand like the benefit of a pelvic floor therapist, and or speaking to someone like myself who knows a little bit more about it before they go into pregnancy or postpartum.
Yeah, that's cool. What I like that those are two like really practical things that's like, hey, we can apply right now. Um, I know pelvic floor is a big one. Another big one, um, is this something that you could speak into is diastasis?
Yeah. So a lot of women will have a diastasis. So diastasis is a separation of your abdomen. So you're letting it out of the top tissue, right? That women literally you
The
can put.
abs separate to make room for the baby.
Yep, and it happens, right? There's nothing we can do, no matter how much I scale or modify my workout, and that is the most important thing for you coaches to understand. There is nothing these athletes can do to prevent it from happening, no matter what. What we can do is maybe control the damage or more of what we do to it. So, for example, if I'm having a little bit of a DR, I don't want to do toes to bar because that's going to put a lot of pressure onto my core and potentially make that DR a little worse, right? Or
Yeah.
I don't know, bigger,
And
larger.
this is something too that like so that ab separation, well one, um, how do you notice when that's happening? Let's start with that first.
Um, you as a coach or you as a
Let's go from I guess from a coach because okay. So one thing I've heard is like being avoiding coning of the belly when you're doing exercises.
yeah, so coning's like when it looks like the aliens popping out, which is just the symptom
Yeah.
of it, right? So like you see it looks like I actually like I have a post on my Instagram that you can still see my separation now. When I'm like in a hollow hold on the rig and I'm holding certain positions and I'm holding my breath, you could still see like me pointing out a little bit. So as a coach, you'll visually see it. And if you're not familiar with it, again, you can Google it. You can look at videos of Tia's got some coning going on the rowers in some of her workouts. But the diastasis after, you're going to want to know from a pelvic floor therapist what that diastasis looks like. So like
Mm.
normally everyone's going to have some type of DR after. It's a matter of how large it is and how much rehab they'll need after. As an individual, how will you know it's happening? One, you'll either visually see it or they might have other symptoms like pressure, pain, bulging. They normally can feel it if they know what to feel. I hope that everybody in our space can tell like when certain things start to feel a certain way. But again, everything out there is kind of mixed message that you see certain things that certain people are doing that you're going to continue to do because you see certain people doing it, but doesn't mean it's the best thing for you without saying it.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a certain point where you're like, hey, you just shouldn't be doing ab exercises anymore
It's an individual
during
case by
pregnancy?
case, right? So like it's honestly,
Okay.
and this is like the biggest thing. It's an athlete mindset thing. So like the one way of looking at this is like I'm gonna use my coach as an example because I know she won't mind me speaking about her. But like this girl has been CrossFitting, right? She's a CrossFit coach. She's been CrossFitting coaching for me now for about 5 months. She's struggling in class. Like she feels excluded. She feels, and she knows what to do. She took the course that I took, but she just feels off like on her own. So I'm sharing this because it's important that even though she's a coach and she knows what to do, us in the CrossFit community need to know that the mental space of these athletes, the pregnant and postpartum athletes, can't be assumed to just figure it out on their own, that they need to continue to make them feel inclusive into the community. Um, and even though you think that the modifications that you're delegating to them, like it can't just be like this prescribed program that they go and do and you don't speak to them after. I give Rachel programming after her workouts, and every day she's explaining to me what's going on. Every pregnant and postpartum athlete I've had in my Fitness Through Motherhood group, they're coming in for the same workout, but every single one of them is doing something different in my program. I am scaling individually for every single one of them because of their pain and their symptoms or things that they're going through, whether they're pregnant or postpartum in that moment.
And you're saying that it's important to while you do that, keep them involved and engaged with the group, and
Yeah,
don't just be
not
like,
just
"Hey,
put them
here's
all
your
on the
version.
corner.
Have fun in the corner."
Yeah, because that's what happens, right? Like if they're doing what they're like what we ideally want them to do, like and again, I'm going off the sit up question here, but like I'm not saying like if I have an athlete who my best friend who recently had a baby, she's 8 months postpartum as of yesterday. She has a separation, okay? She has no other symptoms besides you see her abs separated, okay? So when she's on on the rig, you see her separation. She doesn't care cosmetically. She doesn't care. She just wants to go back to doing pull-ups. She wants to go back to toast to bar. And like we had the again, this is my best friend. We had the conversation. She went to a pelvic floor therapist, somebody that I work with. She had the conversation with her, and it's just how she's okay with where she's at in her rehab journey and wants to go back to movement. So like certain athletes are going to just do what they want, but us as coaches can educate them on the risk versus reward. So for the sit up
Yeah.
question, like when should someone start sit ups? I don't have an answer for that. I can have an answer on the individual. If you tell me their background, what are they like? Because if you told someone, again, let's use Tia, and I'm not, I love talking about Tia because I respect what Tia's doing. I would never necessarily advise my athletes to do what Tia's doing, but if Tia was one of my athletes, if Tia hired me as her pregnant postpartum coach, that woman's the fittest person on earth, okay? She's split jerking still. But she's split jerking like 95 pounds. That's like me doing a 15-pound barbell for Tia. So people are sitting here judging that person, not knowing where she's at mentally, what her mental hurdles are, right? And again, she does have symptoms, but she might be working with a pelvic floor therapist that's helping her navigate those symptoms from the outside looking in. My thing is with that whole scenario is that I want CrossFit or someone like myself to just explain that more so people like you, other affiliate owners and coaches understand like just because she's doing it doesn't mean everyone should do it, but doesn't mean she's wrong either. That she's a perfect example of a high-end athlete that needs to be met where she's at in her pregnancy journey and is still capable of doing these and is choosing to do these things. But you might
So it
have
sounds like, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say you might have someone and like me who doesn't care about scaling and modifying, and I don't need to do toast to bar. Like I have no advantage in it when I'm pregnant or not, and I want to scale and modify everything because I just want to keep my baby safe. I'm nervous, and honestly, I don't. If I get 8 months to be lazy again, I'm here for it. Like that's like I don't mind scaling. I'm the person that you need to push harder. So, but that's knowing your athletes too and meeting them where they're at. Again, during the open with Coach Rachel, it was a lot of negotiations, and I was fine with it. And she's like, "I know I shouldn't be doing this." I was like, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. As long as you're comfortable with it, this is your journey. I'm just here to guide you and support you through it. We know what the risk could be, but there's really no risk besides symptoms, and it's a choice they have to make. But imagine being the person that loves toast to bar, Christian, and then all of a sudden you're not allowed to eat fish, you're not allowed to have alcohol, you can't do this, you can't do that, and now you can't do toast to bar either, Christian. Go F yourself. Like, that's not fair. Imagine being that athlete. Imagine how they feel. And that goes back to Rachel feeling exclusive in classes because it's so much more than just like exclusive in the workout. It's like everything is stripped from her. Fitness is one thing we can keep consistent and keep inclusive and keep these women going during that journey.
Well, and that applies, to coaching all athletes. It's like our job is to figure out what is safe and then pair that with meeting them where they're at physically and psychologically. And I've been going through that with like a couple different athletes. I have an athlete who has not as extreme as a pregnancy, but he has a pretty bad like leg injury. And so we've been planning ahead of time what are his modifications. And my coaches know like when you have a progression, when you're making your class plan, you need to figure out exactly what he's doing, knowing that he can't use that leg. And presenting and we've been talking about presenting him with like come up with two options for him and tell him, hey, I've been thinking about you. Here's two ideas I got. Which one do you like? And then just doing that alone, uh, by figuring out versions that keep him engaged and allowing him to choose the option has allowed him to feel like he's having a good time and like feel like he's getting better. And when you give those people those choice opposed to just tossing them out in the corner makes a bigger impact on them now and moving forward.
No, and I think you kind of crushed it right there, right? Like it's not just the pregnant, it's all of our athletes, and that's something for everyone to be mindful of when we're coaching. Is if someone is injured, like they're like I you say that, and I have another guy who's been really sick and he's been struggling, and I actually told him I was like, you should reach out to Rachel, and he's like, what do you mean? I was like, it's gonna sound ridiculous, but your mindset is so similar in that sense that like you feel like you have to come to class and do such low key things, and it's like the best coaches won't make them feel that way. If we can figure that out in our affiliate, then you're absolutely crushing that.
Yeah, and it becomes the mindset is so key there, and figuring out where's their mindset at, what kind of space are they in, what do they want, and then how do I scaffold that? Because those don't always match up. They might be in a shitty mindset, but then they have these like high expectations, and so they're like, okay, how do we navigate these to make sure that this continues to be a safe place for you to grow?
Yep. So crazy. It's true.
What I'm so glad that you've been doing this because my sisters are having tons of babies. I
I
have
didn't know
like
you had
tons
five
of
sisters.
like,
I
what'd you say?
didn't know you had that many sisters.
I have 5 sisters,
Yeah, wow.
yes, and um, 3 of them are adults, and they're just like having babies and babies and babies, and we've got like tons of nieces and nephews now, and so my my the oldest of them, she's right behind me. I'm the oldest, but she's the oldest daughter, and she she's going on her second pregnancy and is like figuring out like what does she want to do in life, and so she's now figured out this what you had described, because she has seen that there's a lot of just like fitness, there's a lot of bad information out there,
So much.
and trying to decipher like what's the good stuff and what works for me. And so when she had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm really interested in this and I know that women need help." I was very happy to have you as a resource to be able to direct her to you and say, "Hey, go connect with Trish cuz she's doing this." And I just want to let you know that means a lot to me.
No, yeah, and again, like I hope to continue to talk to more people about it because it's not me. Like again, like I love that your sister is considering and doing it because it's a need. It's it's necessary. We need me in every CrossFit affiliate, not just in affiliates, but every gym and resource around the world. But like because it's just a complete disconnect and it's pain that you would like hip pain or back pain that your clients might be describing that's connected to their core and their pelvic floor. There you might be trying all these things in squat therapy because it's hurting them and you're forgetting that the woman had a C-section 20 years ago and that's what's actually bothering her and she doesn't know better and her OB's not telling her. So it's like also knowing the questions to ask and having that like more people like me, like your sister and others educated so we can just help and send people the right way and advocate for people.
So what is it that you are doing with this? Are you only working with people in your locale? Are you expanding beyond that?
So right now I'm working people locally. Every 5 or 6 weeks I put out a new cycle with Fitness Through Motherhood group. I bring in pregnant and postpartum athletes. It doesn't matter what trimester they're in. They could be first, second, third. They could be 2 months postpartum. They could be 8 months, 8 years postpartum. It doesn't matter. I do it after my classes, so it's at 10:30s. I'm sorry, so a half hour buffer between my affiliate and mom classes. That's more for I don't sell it as CrossFit because CrossFit could be intimidating, but what I do is I do teach the methodology in these classes and more in sense of calling it CrossFit, focusing more on the functional movement part of it and teaching the moms like you I know it's scary to hear that you're doing things with a barbell, but like that's literally what you do in your everyday life. I'm just going to help you overcome that fear of the barbell for whatever that is. In addition to the like 6 and 5 week classes I'm doing, I'm working with a lot of pelvic floor therapy therapists in the island. Like I've sent over 50 women to pelvic floor therapists at least in the last few months. Just and I can't tell you the doctors, like the connection with the doctors, I think is the coolest thing for me because they reach out and like they want to work with me and they know they can trust me. which is the nicest part. They're like, as soon as they hear my name, they're like, oh, I know you're in good hands. Or if you're not in good hands, Trisha's going to ask for help because she knows what to do. So I think that's been very like satisfying for me in a weird way. I don't know, because that's what CrossFit wants to, right? Like I'm bridging the gap to healthcare in my own way. And my future, I have a lot of plans, but I'm going to start a podcast. That's my one thing. I think the podcast that I do just to talk, right? Like even if I have you on and we talk about one client and just dive into one case study right then and there and try and help people identify clients. And just like also like joking conversations in the sense of like, what is the pelvic floor and things like that. And then I want to launch like an online platform, but it's going to be individualized programming in my online platform, because I don't believe in buy 30-day program to fix your abs. I don't believe
Yeah.
in the DR programs that are on social media. And the reason is, Christian, we both have two different kneecaps, right? If you had knee surgery and I had knee surgery and we both went to physical therapy, it would look different, right? Just like my vagina and uterus is different than Kayla's vagina and uterus. If we both had the same C-section, Kayla's rehab is going to be different because her hips may have grown differently than mine. So all those online programs, they are great guided, like good guides. Like don't get me wrong, if you're a mom and you're sitting home and you got nothing better to do and that's all you have, then do it. But what really needs to happen is they need to get to a pelvic floor therapist, and then they need to get to a personal trainer, preferably CrossFit, that's going to help these moms return to postpartum, like functional fitness,
And
confidence.
where can so that's something that they want to learn more about. Where can they go for that?
For me, you're saying?
For you, or I know that the program that you've been a
Oh
part
yeah, yeah.
of.
So
Either way.
Brianna Battles pregnancy and postpartum cert was on sale, but she actually gave me a code to share for this podcast specifically, which is Trish, capital letters TRISH 20, and that will get everyone 20% off the course. She only does one yearly sale. It just ended like a month ago, so if you guys are still interested in it, I'm also happy to talk to any affiliate owner or coach on how to make this profitable for affiliates. If as long I should say people that have gone through affiliate you only actually, because you should really do this once your business established. um, so it's a huge untapped market, guys, and it's just as important as knowing how to serve your clients now as a specialty client. So I totally recommend it to everybody, and it does help with revenue on the back end.
Yeah, that's really cool. And if nothing else, it allows you to, like we said in the very beginning, be a better spouse, be a better parent, be a better sibling. When you are more educated on what the women in your life are going through. And like I said, I take that for granted because I have five sisters, and I didn't realize till I started talking to guys like they don't know shit about shit.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much, Trish.
Of
This is super
course.
fun and informative. And if people want to find you specifically, where can they find you?
Instagram is probably the best place. Coach Trish
Cool.
BC or Babylon CrossFit, either one. I try to
Awesome.
share like cross-reference posts on both of them when it comes to the mom stuff.
Yeah,
I
very
just
cool. And I'll put those
wait, before
I'll
you
put those
just
in the show
give me
notes.
that feedback really quick on Instagram. How do you feel about it as a man with me posting? I'm nervous about continuing to post so much pregnancy and postpartum stuff on my affiliate page versus my gym page because I'm trying to target the right markets.
Um, I don't see a problem with it. I think just like with everything else, whenever I post on my social media, I'm asking myself who's my greater ideal client and how does this fit into that? So like for me in my gym, I view my gym as a lifestyle gym. And so I want to communicate I want to attract people that want to change their life for the long haul. And so as long as it aligns with that, I'm like, heck yeah, this is a good post. Because I do the same thing. Like I don't always share my personal stuff on this particular with the gym because it doesn't quite align always with that. I know
Yeah.
that's kind of like a political answer, but is that
No,
helpful?
yeah, I mean, that's like something I play with all the time in my head. I'm like, should I keep sharing all this mom stuff, or if I'm a man, do I not want to see it?
No,
So
I mean I so like um think as a guy, when I see stuff like that, it communicates to me that you that you care deeper than what some of these other gyms are. And as long as you're balancing that with all of the other stuff that you post, and
Yeah.
it's like I always try to balance too, like um
Face.
I try to post, yeah, I try to post a lot of videos to show that we're accessible.
Yeah.
And this is feedback I was given, is making sure I'm also showing people who are the goal. Because I want to show the new person, I want to show the unsuspecting person, and I want to show my athletes who are doing pull-ups. I want to show my athletes that are lifting heavy, because it's like we can take you from this person to this person. And so as
Yeah.
long as you're balancing that on your social media of like, hey, I help pregnant moms, and here's some messaging that also connects with your husband so that your whole family feels comfortable here.
That's literally
Now
my
they
mind.
feel like
That's literally what I'm
yeah, so
thinking.
as long as you're balancing stuff like that, I think you're good to go.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's like what I try to do. I'm like every other day, I'm like mom class, then a dad, and then a family, and then this, and then to your point, the athletes and the difference in their journeys.
Yeah, and it can be as simple as like, hey, when there's hero workouts, I might make this post a little geared towards men, or like when it's Father's Day, we'll show a bunch of like dads and you know things like that. Because I think about that too. I've been thinking about that with my gym is um how because I've gotten a lot of people who are like new. They want to like level up their fitness, and it seems like it's disproportionately women. Um, and I have a few guys at my gym that uh want functional fitness. They don't want to be like the meathead at the gym. They want to know, like, they want to do hard work, and they want to move weight, and they want this to like transfer outside life. And so I've been thinking like, okay, well, how do I reach that person? Because I'm imagining like the guy in my area that does rucking. He likes to go ruck, but that's all he's doing. It's like, how do I reach out to that guy and know like, hey, there's stuff in your fitness that you're missing that you don't realize you're missing.
That's a good. I like that. Do like a sled push and a lawnmower.
Yeah, actually, that's so funny because somebody has sent me. Been sent those videos like 3 or 4 times. They're like, "You need to do this." Like, okay, it's it's easier. It's kind of a pain in the ass to like put that all together because then you got to like go and
I
shoot on site. But
I do it with Jaden all the time. I'm like, oh, you're having a tantrum? Let me just put my camera down. Hold on.
yeah, for sure. So I'll get on that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I
Well, thank
appreciate
you
you
so much for a
having me.
chat.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me on, and hopefully I do help someone else or answer if I can answer any questions. Like seriously, reach out, especially if you're an affiliate owner and you're like, I want to talk more. Like it's a very big disconnected piece in CrossFit, guys, and it's something that I'm very hopeful will improve as we grow as a brand and corporation.
Yeah, well, and even beyond affiliate owner, like go back to my sister, like this is a career path.
This
Like
is
if this is
huge.
something you're
Yeah.
really passionate
Yeah,
about, go
I could start
explore
a whole
that.
nother business on this. Absolutely. I could. I totally could. I could sell my gym and do a whole fitness through motherhood business, which is pretty much what's happening, but I'm not selling the gym. We're just doing both.
Yeah. What and on that note, I'm whether this has crossed your mind or not, this is something that I could see you packaging and helping gyms implement as a service.
I know. I want to help CrossFit
It's big.
really bad.
Yeah.
I really want
Because
to
we've
help
talked about
CrossFit.
that. I've talked about that with Tony, who's in a mentor with me in our coaches group. Because he put together like a whole like pregnancy little like packet, and he has a whole procedure for when women are pregnant. Um, and just being able to help gyms implement that. Like there's programs that help gyms implement nutrition.
Yeah,
There should be there's programs for like physical therapy type stuff. There should be ones for pregnant women.
I'll do my best. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
that's cool.
Hopefully, we're on again in 2 years and we're recapping that.
Yeah, dude, that would be awesome. That would be amazing. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is a fun conversation, and I look forward to seeing where you take it. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you're ready to rewrite your story, get out of your own way, design a life that gets you excited to wake up in the morning and do something that you love, book a discovery call, and we will chat about whether mindset and lifestyle coaching is for you. Until next time, thanks again for listening.